1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, welcome back to Country and Cold Cans. I'm Logan, sitting here with Trucker Andy and Kyle. Be sure to give us 5 stars, great review on Spotify and Apple Podcast. And, in the description of this podcast, there's a link that says click here to leave us a voicemail. We'd love to have any of your thoughts, any of your questions, anything you just want to say to us. That's the place to hit us there. ColdCansNetwork.com for blog content and merch. All right, fellas, let's just jump right into it because we have a lot to say, a lot to talk about on this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Andy and I were saying, could it be the greatest release day in history, or at least the greatest release day that we've covered on this podcast? Last Friday, we had the great return of Turnpike Troubadours with a new album. Zach Bryan's self-titled new record. Morgan Wade dropped her sophomore record. It was just a busy day for music, and I haven't even gotten to some of the singles from artists that I really like that were released that day. But we're going to cover Turnpike and Zach Bryan today. Before we get into, we're going to do Turnpike first. Before we get into that, I did see that Turnpike is opening 3 dates on a stadium show for Zach Bryan, which is kind of cool to see. Like the fact that those two together, with a couple other artists mixed in on the lower part of the card, are going to be playing at a stadium. It's pretty sick.
NFL stadiums.
NFL stadiums, yeah. Not anything small.
Like amphitheaters or nothing.
Yeah.
Massive stadiums, yeah.
Exactly. So, I was surprised to see the stadium thing, but that would be a show that I wish was closer, and because that would be a show I'd love to go see. But all right, let's get into the Turnpike Troubadours first with their latest release, A Cat in the Rain. So Turnpike Troubadours, first and foremost, longtime Turnpike fans know this. The last record they released was in 2017, Long Way From Your Heart. And then in that faithful day in 2019, all of us hardcore fans, we remember the news of them going on indefinite hiatus. The Turnpike Troubadours was a band that we didn't know if we were ever going to see them on stage together again. We didn't know if we were ever going to get new music again. And, if they had called it quits at that point and never got back together, the catalog they had given us had been some of the best 4-album run that I probably had ever seen. But needless to say, year and a half ago, Turnpike announced they're getting back together. They're going out on the road. I've been able to see them at least once since they've come back. I'm seeing them again in September. And then we got a taste of new music. So yeah, some videos floated around YouTube of Evan playing some acoustic songs that were new. And then they released 3 singles ahead of the latest LP, A Cat in the Rain. And the story of the Turnpike Troubadours is, go ahead.
Didn't we get copyright strike because you found something on the internet?
Yeah, we did. But we did. Yeah. We did. We got
okay.
copyright struck because somebody got mad that we used their video and said we didn't credit them, even though
it was a jukebox. It wasn't even a live play.
But also her name was in the YouTube video description crediting them, but they didn't read it. But lazy, as we say on tailgate season, I digress.
Yeah.
But the Turnpike Troubadours, man, the fact that we even got a new record from them is nothing short of awesome. The fact that they're back together and touring is nothing short of awesome. This is arguably one of my top 3 favorite bands of all time. It's a band that if it hadn't have been for them and a couple of others, we might not be sitting on this podcast. They're very influential on me and Andy in particular. And their whole story is just one of redemption, one of forgiveness, one of just perseverance. And so let's just jump into the record here. Andy, I'll throw it to you first to give your general thoughts on the record, and then we'll go round table before we go into the track list and go song by song after that.
So, far as sound goes, it's somewhat of the iconic fiddle and the iconic guitar tone is somewhat gone. And surprisingly, I actually like this sound because this album sounds different than the past. It's missing some of your iconic, where it's clearly Turnpike sound, but I actually think this is a little bit better. Evan sings a little bit more melodically. The whole album's a little bit more melodic, and surprisingly, I think it's an improvement. I don't think I would have said that until hearing it. If you told me this was going to sound different, I would have said it's an improvement. The I like how, considering how this album comes about after the hiatus, I like how a lot of the songs are so reflective of Evan Felker himself. I like how that's there. At times in the past, you can never tell if Evan was ever writing about himself or not in the past because he's such a short story guy. You don't ever know if it's about him or not. But to me, this is a lot of the songs on the album are clearly about himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems like a very personal record in a lot of ways. Even the songs, because 6 songs were written by Evan Felker, 1 by RC, 1 by Fulbright, and 2 covers. And even one of the covers it can come across when sung by the Troubadours as being a very personal kind of song to his story. To your point about the production difference, like Shooter Jennings did this project where Wes Sharon did the previous 3 of the previous 4. First one was done by Mike McClure. But one thing that I noticed different in the production that I actually appreciated about Shooter was Shooter had the vocal harmonies higher in the mix. That's something we didn't hear a lot from Turnpike as much on previous albums. One of my criticisms was I do think that Nixie's fiddle was probably a little too low in the mix, Andy. Like you were saying, you didn't hear as much of the fiddle being up front and center. That was one of my criticisms of it. Was like I would have preferred to still keep that fiddle so like high up. Overall, I think that this is quintessential Turnpike sonically speaking. The record as a whole, I liked how like introspective it was, just because the journey and the all the trials that Evan Felker, who in my opinion is the best songwriter of this generation, has gone through. It was very reflective. It felt very personal. And my only other criticism would have been I think that maybe if they'd, and this probably wasn't the project for it, right? But if they'd included like one more of those, like, like bangers, like Every Girl back on Diamonds and Gasoline, I probably would have liked to have one more of those, like concert ready kind of sing-alongs. But I get this is probably a little bit of a different project. Overall, I was a big fan of this record. I will say that this record is, like a lot of Turnpike music, it requires multiple listens. It's something that grows on you. The more you listen to it, the more you pay attention to things, the more you grow to like it. Your first listen, like Evan writes in such a, even when he's writing personal stuff, he writes in such a like narrative, like short story, like a work of like literature, basically, rather than just writing a hooky song, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you miss things without listening to it multiple times. But overall, I was a big fan. Like, just one, having the new Turnpike music for me was amazing. But 2, like, the more I listen to this, the more a lot of these songs grow on me that maybe I didn't gravitate to on that first listen right off the bat. But I was a fan of this one. Kyle, what about you?
So I don't quite hear the vast difference. I mean, I still hear the fiddle and harmonica, which is what to me reminds me of Turnpike. I hear a lot of it. So I don't really see that big of a difference. And since you were talking about Evan Felker's writing being like a literary song, I knew I had heard Cat in the Rain somewhere.
Hemingway.
So I looked it up, Cat in the Rain. 11th grade, read his short story in Miss Murphy's English class. And I was like, yep. I knew I recognized that somewhere.
He's a very big Hemingway fan. And, I think Cat in the Rain came out, 1925-ish?
Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
I was like, I knew he's
very influenced by Ernest Hemingway.
And, one of the all-time great American writers. I was like, I know that title somewhere. And I finally just had to look it up because I couldn't think of it. And you can absolutely see how Evan Felker is, in my opinion, the best, not short story, but orator of stories in a short song that I've probably ever seen. I don't really see that much of a competition. He could fit an entire story in a 3-minute song, unlike anybody I've ever seen. To me, this album, from wide angle view is just more of the good. I would challenge Andy because I had mentioned it to you earlier. 8 songs, 2 covers. Is it an album? Granted, the 2 covers, I didn't know they were covers till I looked them up. They were both released in the early 70s.
Yeah,
I'd never heard them before.
I didn't know it either at first.
But Andy's definition is it's got to be more than 9 songs.
He's pretty strict and rigid on what he considers an actual LP.
So 8 songs, 2 covers. Andy is it an album?
Yes. I don't think covers that you don't know are covers are the same thing as stuff that's obviously a cover that everybody knows.
But who defines covers you don't know are covers?
Like, I don't know, a popular one people do is Hurricane. I guess it's by the band The Heathens. I don't know if that's who originally did it or not. But that's one that is just, they do it so
it can't be the
much.
Hits. Can't be the hits.
Like songs that are not, because I didn't know these were covers, so stuff that was never very popular. And some covers are perfectly fine. And like El Cerrito Place is a good example by Kenny Chesney. I'll give him that cover every day.
Okay. That was, to me, the strongest criticism I had of it was it's only 10 songs. It's been, 6 years? And I know, he's dealing with his own issues, but 6 years and been back together for 2+? We get 10 songs. I'm a little harsh on that.
I like the 10 because 10's traditional album length, and to me, on this release day, Turnpike is the traditional band. It makes sense for them to do that.
Look, here, unpopular take on the whole streaming era. Yes, I would agree, but we've already heard 2 of these, and then 2 of them are covers, and then
Bottoms Up was actually a Felker solo song that he finally did a full band rendition.
So it's really only 5 songs.
But at the same time, we don't really know. Like, so Turnpike's different than Zach Bryan, and this is why I appreciate that. And I'm not trying to necessarily get into a comparison here because Zach Bryan, we'll talk about him on the back end of the show, but he's different from a Zach Bryan. Turnpike is a little bit more of a traditional band. And they kind of have always gone with the more all killer, no filler kind of approach to making a record. And I also don't know how much Evan was actually writing through that time period where he was kind of overcoming some of his struggles and everything. So
I see a few songs that are pretty deep on him.
And and the flip side of that too, though, is maybe he does have some stuff back cataloged out and they didn't want to shoot their wad on the first release back.
Yeah, I get that. It's just in the streaming era when we release a single, then we got an A-side, B-side, and then we release 3 singles on an EP or an LP, whatever we want to call it. When the album comes out, I'm a little disappointed that I've already heard half the album.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on the streaming era. That's just a reality of how things are now, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's just a little disappointing.
It'll never beat the rush of getting a new album back in when they the physical album days where you tear the cellophane off the CD and you get to listen to a lot of it for the first time. But
best it was 2 radio singles.
Yeah, at the most 2. Yeah, but it's unfortunately can't put the smoke back in the cigarette. It's that just didn't gonna come back.
Yeah. I know.
I'm with you on that, though. I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm on the losing side of that argument, unfortunately. But
everybody likes to have instant grat. Let's get as much as I want all the time.
Now, I want it now. I want all of it. Yeah. So
there's something that being made to wait for something just makes it that much more satisfying when you actually get it.
Shows our generation gap.
The way that you said that is that everybody wants instant grat, and you don't even say gratification.
I know that's very modern way, right?
You should finish the word.
Yeah, you sound very, very Zoomer.
Hey, look, man, I'm hip with the kids. I know how they speak. No cap.
So Logan's trying to market to them kids to buy a car. It's his day job.
Nah, kids can't be buying no cars. They ain't got the credit nor the money.
No, touche them.
All right, so guys, like Turnpike's back. Let's jump into the track list. It started off with the first one was the lead single, "Mean Old Son." "Mean Old Son," like to me, kind of feels like it's one. I really like the kind of how it eases into it. You catch the harmonies, which is something, like I said, it's not something that traditionally they've done on a lot of songs, but you catch the harmonies off the bat. It kind of has a feel like, I feel like this is going to play well in concert, but it also is a song about, in my mind, probably like the aftermath of what he was in, like after his relationship ended, and kind of like the struggles to try to get back to where he needs to be, like kind of the fight to try to get back up there. I was a fan of this one. I will say this wasn't my favorite of the 3 singles that were released, but I did like this one. What were y'all's thoughts on this?
To me, the timeline, this song fits. This song is kind of like the around the hiatus era. Like when that happened, this feels like more so in that timeline, self-reflective song.
I would say the song to me is, we're going to go down the nostalgia lane. We're going for the old sound, and this is why we released it as a single. I don't think it's the best song on the record. I would say it's probably middle of the road, but the sound of the song is what you know, it's what you love. And it's not the deepest, it's certainly not the best in my opinion, but it just, what they're trying to do with the song is just tickle that itch. You've had that itch for 6 years now.
Yeah.
And it
feels a little bit familiar, but still a little bit different at the same time.
It's old but new at the same time.
Because one of the things so both these artists we're covering today are artists that I can say without a shadow of a doubt, what I appreciate about them is they make me feel something. They make me feel something on a deeper level than most artists do. And it's like, there's a lot of music and artists that I like, and I really like their music, and I'll come back to their music, but there's something about a Turnpike song that has always struck a different chord with me and made me feel something. And just, I think some of it is having to try to like listen intently to what Evan is saying. Because even in a song like this, where I agree, Kyle, I don't think this is one of the best songs on the record. I think it's a good song, but I don't think it's one of the best songs on the record. I mean, just listen to lines like this, because like the way he writes is such like a work of literary art. Like in this song in particular, he's like, "Empty promises I've given, hollow heartbeats in my chest, and every word of sterling silver stirred butterflies beneath your breast." Like it reads like a poem when you're not listening to the electric guitar, the banjo, and the fiddle in the mix. Like it reads like a poem, man. It's like there's just something about Felker that his songwriting style just draws me in.
He's a lyrical genius.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's no other way to put it. I mean, yeah, he is a lyrical genius. And to me, what I really enjoy about Turnpike is you enjoy just the noise and, the band, the harmonica, the fiddle, all that. But then after the second listen, you're like, I really need to look up the lyrics, because because I know it's much more than just the sound. And, you don't really, you can get the gist of the song on a lot of the songs, but some songs you really don't get the depth and the gravity, if you will, without looking up the lyrics. And then playing the lyrics. I love the lyrical videos on YouTube that some fanboy does, because it plays the lyrics as the song goes, and it completely changes the what's the environment, I guess, if you will. How you absorb the song.
Yeah. It's one of those things that becoming a Turnpike fan over the years has made me realize that I actually like poetry. Because normally,
I like poetry. I like music with poetry.
That's my point, though.
Okay.
I've never been into reading poetry because I just couldn't appreciate it. But I realized it was never that I couldn't appreciate the words written on the page. It's just when you put it to such like scintillating music that Turnpike puts it to.
Yeah, he's
singing poetry. Yeah, he's singing poetry.
When you put a fiddle behind it, it makes everything better.
All right, so track 2, it gets to one of the one of the other singles that was released, and this was my favorite single released out of the record, was Brought Me. Brought Me is a song that on the surface seems like a love song, but in reality, it's kind of a love letter to the fans. Like just the fact that he was sitting there, there's a line about how he looks up towards the end of the song. He looks up and he sees your eyes at like the ballroom in Tulsa, and like their return show back in 2022. One of those things where he hasn't forgot who brought him to the dance. Essentially, he gave his heart away for free. He's had some troubles. People were afraid that we'll never get to see them again, but here they are. They're back, and you know what? Like, he's not going to forget the people that brought him to the point he's at. After kind of like hearing that side, when I first heard it, I just heard a love song, but after hearing that side of it, it changed my perspective of this song. I actually really, really love this song now. Just as kind of like a thank you to the fans in a lot of ways.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better.
Where Logan, you said that you didn't think there was a good like concert song off this album. I think this is a good concert song because the chorus is very catchy and sing-alongy type, which is something I can't really think of another song from them where they've done a song like this in the chorus, where it's so melodic and sing-songy. I feel like this is the concert. I think this would be a good song to sing along with in concert. It's just different than the stuff they've done in the past.
I agree, because this has a flair of like Celtic music and a flair of like old English music with kind of like that like pub kind of barroom sing-song kind of style. And I now that you say that, Andy, I think we'll find out September 23rd, 4th.
Yep.
But but I agree. I think this is going to be play well in concert, but
it's just different from their concert songs of the past. It's just a different sound.
Yeah. All right, moving into track 3, Lucille. We get another female character brought into the Felkerverse. Basically a song about an ex-girlfriend is how I took it, and like sharing characteristics. Like at the end of the chorus where he's like asking about like who's looking after the children or whatever. I thought that was kind of funny, but I was a fan of this. I did really want to. I hope next album we get some songs about Lori, but I was interested to see another female character brought into the Felkerverse.
Yeah. When I first heard this song, I was like, is there some medieval instrument or weapon that's named Lucille? I would know that name. And after a little bit of research, I found out it's the bat in The Walking Dead that some character uses. I was like, I know that name. And all I can think of the whole time I heard this song is that bat from The Walking Dead.
That is not where I know that name from.
That's what I recognize as. All I could hear the whole song. I was like, yep, it's a
pick a fine time to leave me.
Yeah, I was like, I know that name Lucille. I was like, it's all I could think of. Completely ruined the song for me. I still like it, but it's just all I can think of when I hear
it. Yeah. Andy, anything before we move to the next?
This one I listened to. Nice.
Yeah. All right, so next up we have Chip and Mill. This one was written by R.C. Edwards, who plays bass for Turnpike. I think this one it's a good song. It's not one of my favorites. I think this one's kind of a fun song in a lot of ways, and it kind of speaks to probably the perspective of the band, I guess, in a lot of ways, towards Evan is how I took it, but also could be like the band for the fans, like with the line, I always kept the best for you. Like putting your heart through a chip and mill, selling your soul to rock and roll. But I liked this one overall. What say you guys?
It's interesting because I had never thought about chipping mill as a there we go. I never looked at chipping mill as a song, as like a reflection towards the band. I just always looked at it as a quasi cheesy love song, and as a self-reflection towards the band, it is a much more interesting song, because we all know Evan with his problems. Those guys got put through the ringer, if you will.
I mean, they were at their peak, about to start doing arenas, and then
stadium tours,
sudden
arenas,
hiatus.
and then like I said, his problems not only just put the band on a lively, on question marks, but their actual livelihood. Because with most bands, the singers is the name guy, and you can, so yeah, that view does change my view of the song quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because, yeah. Before that, I was just thinking, it's a fine kind of quasi cheesy love song. But when you put it, you have completely, you've changed my view on that song. I did not look at it as a Evan quasi apology to the band.
Yeah, I think this is another one of the ones that's going to be like a single type deal.
Yeah, like especially in concert. I think you're having some audio difficulties, Andy.
I'm parking. Let me get parked.
All right, we'll move on while you're doing that. So next song is "The Rut," which I think is arguably one of the two best songs on the album.
100% agree. Yep.
The line in this song that really just floored me, I guess I would say, of this is, I don't miss the taste of liquor or really anything about it, but the temporary shelter was a welcome compromise. This song is kind of like when you get almost on the backside of your like demons, so to speak, like you get you get in recovery of whatever issue you have, like the kind of pulling the nose up on the plane. And one thing I appreciate about how Evan Felker handles this stuff, it's not so on the nose. He tells a story about going to the mountains with his dad, uses that imagery in the chorus. Because it can be applied to almost anything anybody's kind of going through. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, he talks about going to the mountains with his father, and he goes through the verses you outlined, and then literally a verse later, the ending verse is, "I came back to the mountains, and they're still here." It's like your problems really don't matter. They're if you handle your things, the world's still here for you to enjoy.
Yeah.
And
like if you can get through it, like the beauty of life is still there.
Yeah. And that was, I think it's the best song on the record. And this was the one song that was like, that you really looked at and it was like, all right, this was the Evan apology tour, if you will. Because you can obviously tell it's his apology to the band.
Yeah, and this one's like
this is the most obvious.
Introspective. Yeah, this one's very introspective too, just about his journey.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic.
Getting on the other side of whatever problems he had to face.
Yeah, and the part I really loved was he equates going to the mountains with his father, which you would assume if you and your dad are going, you're a young man, and then all of a sudden, 10 years later, you're still a young man, but you're a young man without the guidance of your father, who is over your shoulder, if you will, and he has gotten past that. But we all know how our early 20s are, and he's gotten past that, and he looks at that as wisdom. Is the way I looked at it. Like he's done what he's done. It's he's not gonna do it again. It's a very self-reflective wisdom song, full of wisdom. But he says it so well, where you don't have to just say it, if you will. You know what he's saying in much less words.
Yeah. Andy, I know this was when you had talked about it a lot, Andy. So, because you had something you had brought out that was in the chorus that kind of had a callback.
Yeah, the holding out for more than barely breaking even, I think, is the line of the album, because of the way, because it in Good Lord Lori, it's barely breaking even is just part of life, folks like you and me or something like that. The context of how the character is in Good Lord Laurie somewhat is more of like Evan in the past, and where in this song where the line is where it's, he's changed his opinion on, he's holding out for more than breaking even. This is him now. And I think the way it ties those two songs together, jumping from album to album, stage of life to stage of life, I think just spectacular.
No, I 100% agree. And I didn't catch that until you texted me that. And this is where why I say Evan Felker, greatest songwriter of his generation, because of things like this. Like, he weaves together this, like, almost like his own kind of like songwriting universe that he's done where, and then it ties it into his own life. Because like you said, Andy, barely breaking even for folks like you and me. And then, the journey he's been on to get to where he's at now, and then this line, it's just it's nothing short of magnificent. And
even to an extent, like you said, like there's no Laurie in this album. It also because that ties to Good Lord Laurie, could just be Laurie is left in the past now because things are different now. That's behind. That might be looking too far into it, but then again, that's something that Evan would do.
Yep.
We deserve a song on that.
All right, so next up, title track, A Cat in the Rain. As Kyle had pointed out earlier in the show, he kind of seemed to have drawn inspiration from like Hemingway's 1925, I think it was, work of the same name that uses that metaphor. But the line of this song, like there's been some speculation. Could there be a reference to, a certain animal-loving country music megastar that Miranda Lambert, that a reference her kind of like bringing breaking his 1,000-yard stare, bringing in a cat from out in the rain. But the line of this song, in my opinion, is if pressure makes a diamond, babe, I might still come out clean. This was one of my favorite songs on the album.
Andy?
To me, this is somewhat just more of another introspective song reflecting on himself. To an extent, yes, a criticism I would have of the album. I don't even know. I like it, and I don't. It may be almost slightly too introspective. Like I don't know how to say this without saying it sounding bad, because I don't mean it to sound bad. If that makes sense.
No, I mean, I get what you're saying. So this song also, the story isn't super, super clear about from start to finish what it's 100% about either. It's just one of those songs that you it's almost up for some interpretation on the listener, but it was one that initially grabbed me out of when I first went through it. But next up, Black Sky. This is the one that was originally released by Ozark Mountain Daredevils in the early 70s. This is a fun song. I don't have like heavy. I don't have a lot to say about this one other than just this seems like a fun song that they'll probably play in concert.
Yeah, I think I agree with you.
Yeah, this sounds like the closest thing Turnpike's ever came to quasi-mainstream, but it's not. I mean, it's the only thing I can even think of that I could imagine hearing on radio country. But it's not. It's still a mile away from it.
Then next up, we have Eastside Love Song, which, if you're a longtime fan, this song is bottoms up because he originally recorded this as a solo song 10 years ago. I think it was on it was a compilation record. I want to say it was Sounds of the Alley. I think is what it was called. Volume 3.
Yep.
But this sounds like old school Turnpike to me, which makes sense, Andy, considering when he wrote it was,
2011,
over 10 years ago. So 2013 is when it was released. So probably 2011, 2012 was when it was written. But yeah,
High
I mean, this
school
one,
boys, you know.
yeah, there's a reference to a rooster in this song. You know, they've had some reference to that in previous songs. Like, it's just like an old school Turnpike song to me. I'm very much a fan of that. So it was, I'm glad they finally did a band version, like full band of this song.
I don't remember this.
I don't know if you've ever heard it.
I don't feel like there's a way. Was it on YouTube?
No, I think it's on Spotify.
Huh. I would be shocked if I haven't, but I don't remember it.
Because it was funny because this song came out and it was titled Bottoms Up the same year that Brantley Gilbert put out his Bottoms Up. That was a big hit.
Oh, God. What a crime.
So, all right, then next up we have number 9 on the record. We have John Fulbright's penned 3 More Days, a song about being out on the road. This sounds like a Fulbright song. And I really, really like this song, especially the lines where it says, "I like the company, but the drive's too long. Yeah, I learned to love living my life from 11 to 2. 3 more days on the road now, honey. God help me make it home to you." That line about learn to love living my life from 11 to 2, just thinking of it in the context of like a touring band, that line just hit the spot for me on for this song. But it sounds like a Fulbright song to me.
Yeah.
This is down somewhat towards the bottom of the list on the album for me. The writing was fine. Sounds fine. It's fine.
It has a very predictable beat for what I call like on the road music. It's like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and you can follow the whole song on 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It picks up on 2 and ends on 3. But it's not the worst. It's fine.
Well, mark that as Andy and Kyle didn't like it. Moving on.
I said we said it was fine.
We said it was fine, yeah.
Yeah, the album closer is the other cover from the record that I want to. It wasn't written by Jerry Jeff Walker, but I believe he released it in the 70s at some point. But it's called "Won't You Give Me One More Chance." This song feels personal, even though Felker didn't write it, just because you think of it in context of him and his first wife are now married again, and they have a kid together now. Like they're remarried, so it almost feels like it's a song speaking to that, even though he didn't write it. But I will point out the one thing I liked about this was the record started with harmony, ends with harmony. I kind of appreciated the beginning and the bookend on that. So, what did y'all think about this one being included on the project?
Andy, is it an album? Andy? All right, Andy's died. Yeah, I tend to agree. It has the traditional Turnpike sound with the harmonica. The fiddle comes in a little bit later. So this was a skippable miss. I didn't really love it, but it's fine. And since, Andy's dead and won't respond to me, no idea.
All right.
I'm back now.
No, he's back. He lives. Andy.
Well, before we move into Zach Bryan, let's 3 favorite songs. Start at 3, go to 1. Andy, you go first.
Brought me, or starting at 3, Chip and Mill brought me the Rut.
Kyle?
Lucille, the Rut, and Cat in the Rain.
So for me, it was Cat in the Rain, Brought Me, and then the Rut. But definitely a very good return from Turnpike Troubadours. I was excited to get new music from them and can't wait to hear some of these songs in concert on September 24th. Maybe we can get Kyle to go since the ticket's available.
I'm going.
Oh, nice. So, all right. First collective country and cold cans concert. The Turnpike Troubadours.
I'm going.
Andy, we're going back full circle now that Kyle's on the show. This is where it all started for us.
As long as Andy doesn't fuck me and be like, "Oh, you give me $50 for a ticket."
Well, if it only costs you $50 to see Turnpike, that's probably a deal.
That's probably a good deal, yeah. But Andy said, "Oh, it's
sold
free."
up. Price is $100.
Oh shit! I'm a poor boy.
All right, let's move into the other record. Zach Bryan, the phenomenon that is Zach Bryan, released his next studio album. It's his self-titled record. Zach Bryan's very interesting because Zach Bryan doesn't follow the rules about what the music industry has traditionally said, how you're supposed to go about things. From the time that he was like coming out and not even intentionally becoming famous, just putting up YouTube videos while he was in the Navy, to just how his style of music, where he just writes very poetic, low produced in a lot of ways for the majority of his career, songs that have just resonated with young people in a way that I just never expected from a roots artist. Just to how he's blown up to where he has guys like Jason Isbell and Turnpike Troubadours agreeing to open for him is nothing short of incredible. Like that's just amazing. The thing about Zach Bryan too is he releases so much music, and he released like 3 songs ahead of the record, and to go, as another way, he just goes against the rules of the music industry. None of those songs are on the album, and I love that. It was all new music. We had 18 tracks, 17 songs, 1 poem. Zach Bryan is an interesting case study for music historians one day.
And the poem was the same title as a track on the album. Yeah.
The one thing about this album too is like the album cover. It's very similar to like how American Heartbreak, last album, had this kind of like old school, very like not Americana the genre, but Americana kind of feel, like a timeless album cover. This one does too.
Yeah, it's taken in like 480p camera. Yeah. I've also seen some hilarious memes that people have substituted, like Donald Trump.
Yeah,
where Zach Bryan is going to sing and it's Donald Trump, and it was like Donald Trump, which are they're hilarious. But
so let's get into our initial thoughts, and then we'll jump into the track list. I'm a big fan of this record. There aren't many artists that make me just feel things like Zach Bryan does. I'm all in on it. Like when older folks older than us don't get Zach Bryan, I don't understand it, but I get it. He has some just amazing lines in every album that he has. He finally, on this record, is at a point where he is starting to write with hooks now on some of these songs, where that's not something he did early in his career as much. There are some really good, catchy, hooky choruses in this. He co-wrote some, and he had 4 collaborators: Warren Treaty, Sierra Farrell, Casey Musgraves, and Lumineers on tracks. My only real criticism of this record, because he produced this record himself, a couple of the songs I don't really love the production on. The one in particular that is a very good song, but I can't really listen to it because it's essentially a voice memo recorded in a field of smaller acts. That was just a miss. There's a couple of songs that probably should have been left on the cutting room floor, but one tied back into what I just said earlier, Zach Bryan doesn't go by the normal rules of making records. He wanted to make what he wanted to make, and you know what? I kind of applaud that. So overall, I'm a big fan.
Yeah, there was one record on American Heartbreak that he recorded literally in a field.
Yeah.
I would like to thank him for only releasing 16 songs, which is like half of 34.
He said it was originally supposed to be 11, but then it ended up ballooning up to like 16.
Yeah, 11 would have been preferable. But, he is notorious for just shitting out content in a not negative way. He's just going to just throw his load out, and you're going to catch it, regardless if you want it or not. The album art is fantastic. It's going to be memeable forever. He is kind of reaching on the jawline physique. He's got a great jawline. I think he's reaching there on the album art. There's a few songs that I just love, and there's a handful that I could do without.
Andy?
In short, I think it's fantastic from the writing. I like the production all the way through. I really have basically zero complaints all the way through.
So before we jump into the
as we
track,
know, I can be a fan of cheap production.
Yeah. Well, see, I just can't. I like the lyrics to Smaller Acts. I just can't understand for the life. It just. I'm sorry, the song sounds shitty. That's the one that I just can't get on board with. The rest of them I'm okay with, but that one I'm just like, dude. Andy and I can record that quality on our iPhones, like that just was a miss production wise. But the rest, I'm.
He has a large fan group that like it.
That's worse. That's not the normal though. Like, and at this point, his fans are so loyal that they'll suck his dick if he made fart noises over on a voice memo and put it on a album. But
you're not
like,
wrong.
That's not like his normal lo-fi sound. That was just literally like an iPhone note. But it's not my record, it's his. But hold on.
Sorry about that. I had to piss.
All right, let's jump into the track list. So the first one is the poem "Fear and Fridays." I didn't love the poem on American Heartbreak. I liked this one.
I skipped it.
Yeah, there's this sense of like Zach Bryan just loves. It's throughout the whole record, but Zach Bryan just loves the idea of living. Like I know that sounds cliche, but it's how it encapsulates with the way he writes, and this poem encapsulates that perfectly. Just the idea of, he kind of says, "This is who I am." Fear and Fridays have a lot in common. They're overrated and they always leave you wanting. That's a great line. Andy, where were you liked the poem on the last one? So how'd you feel on this one?
I liked this one because I'd already heard this on YouTube, but I probably liked the other one a little bit better as far as poems. But I like this from the first time I heard it. The writing on this poem is better written. The last one, the way it was produced and everything, it was the story of the other one just sucked me into what's going to happen next. So this one is written better, but I think I like the other one better.
So next up we had Overtime, and Overtime is funny because I really want to hear y'all's take on this, because Overtime is the first instance where he starts to use a lot of horns, and this song, from the melody to the production style, is straight up Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. Like, and I say that with all the love in the world because I love the boss, but this is a Bruce Springsteen inspired song. I love the cadence to this song. The production has me right in that kind of heartland rock vibe that I'm a big fan of. So I was here for this one.
Yeah, probably one of my favorite. I like the horns. I would like Bruce Springsteen if his voice was different. I can't understand a word that guy says. I cannot understand a word out of that guy's mouth. That's my issue with him. I probably actually the snippet from, I think it was a Barstool TikTok is what I saw.
Yeah, it was from Dana Beers.
That redneck yell is just the quintessential redneck yell. And I like how it kind of kicks the album off too after the poem. I really like that. I like the way he did those in this and another song, like the little snippets put into it.
Kind of funny that Logan, when I told Logan I was out on the poem, he skipped me. Yeah, the poem sucks. If I want to listen to you talk,
I thought that was your take. Was
yeah.
I mean, I didn't think there was much more to say.
yeah, the poem sucks.
I was like, I don't like it.
If I want to listen to you talk, I listen to rap music. Overtime, yeah, it's funky. I'll give it to him on this album. There's no way to define this album in 3 words. When I first listened to it, I was like, it's very upbeat, and then all of a sudden it slows way down. I really like the song, but I just can't put to words how he somehow manages an upbeat horn, but on a slow, like a song with a slow beat song. I don't know how he does it, but he makes it work fantastically.
I don't really think the beat's slow on this. It kind of has driving drums throughout most of the song.
I mean, it's like down.
Like
and
this
up,
song has
down
that hard
and up,
charging
down
kind
and
of
up.
driving. Well, you're talking about the melody then.
Yeah, it's down and up, down and up, down and up, and then, the drums are a constant. The song.
Because he has like that hard charging kind of like melody on the verses, and then it gets a little more melodic in the chorus.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's confusing, man. it works, but
so next up, Summertime's Close. What were y'all's thoughts on this one? Or Close, not Close.
Is that the same word?
Yes, they're spelled the same way, pronounced differently.
But are they pronounced the same? Okay.
Close and Close.
This song, yeah, that's I don't know. That was my thoughts from this song. Is that it got me really thinking about that, and I started saying it, and I was like, I don't know if these are said the same or not.
Is that all you had?
Yeah, it hurt my brain.
Kyle?
This song is a very good example of how Zach Bryan can somehow do the slow down but speed up, and it stays in his vocal range extremely well. I mean, it's very hard to do.
So one of my criticisms of this album that I forgot to say at the beginning was I don't it wasn't the production overall, it was the vocal takes. Zach Bryan is never going to be winning an award for best vocalist.
No,
he's not Chris Stapleton, Ronnie Dunn vocalist, but a lot of times the best songwriters aren't. He emotes very well in most of his songs. The problem with some of the tracks on this record, with him being the producer, not having someone pushing him, in my mind, is some of the vocal takes fell flat. That if you have somebody who's producing your record rather than you doing it, they tend to push you you need a better take. I think there's a couple of tracks, and we'll get to them, where I think that he kind of fell flat vocally in some of it, and then some other areas where he just hits the sweet spot with his emotion, him kind of having that growl and scream that he does. But
I love the was it Fire Carolina, Oklahoma too?
In the chorus.
Yeah, gosh, it's perfection. It, like I said, he stays in his range.
On this one, he does.
Yeah, on this one, yeah. And God, it's so good.
This song was one that I honestly don't really know what it's about. And I love the way it sounds. Yeah. I like some of the lines in it. I don't know what it's about.
The song is too smart for me because I can't figure it out either.
All right, so next up is one of my favorite songs on the record, East Side of Sorrow. This song in particular, from the production to the songwriting, I think was just absolutely fantastic. It kind of dives into, being sent off to war, people that he loses people in the August heat, on the battlefield. He gets back home. People say they don't even know what they were fighting for. He gets back home, and then it kind of references his mother passing away and him, like how that kind of sent him into a spiral. And then saying like he was mad at God, and then it gets into the chorus where he says God was like, the sun's going to rise tomorrow. This is on the East Side of Sorrow. This is where him writing with a purpose in the chorus and with a fantastic hook and a fantastic melody. This is like quintessential top tier Zach Bryan in my mind. Loved this song. And then Andy, I know you probably were going to mention it, so I'm not going to mention what's coming later in the song.
Yep, the Turnpike's back together and they're writing songs. I like multiple because that fits. It fits the narrative of the song as well, and then it also fits the fact Turnpike put an album out on the same day. He's promoting Turnpike's album within his own, which Turnpike is tagged in his Spotify bio. The only person I think even mentioned. That's how big of an influence they are on him. And I like how he's promoting their album, but the line's also the double take because it's, hey man, we can just go sing some Turnpike songs. I think that line is what stood out by far the most of the song to me.
This song is fantastic, man. It's the best song on the record by a mile. Like I said, we get hints of She's All Right with talking about how he's just, there's no hope. You know, he loses his mother in the waiting room, and all of a sudden, you know, with an extreme tragedy, there's some form of optimism. You know, you just look west and you just keep on going. And I love how he does the little clever wordplay where if you just keep running, eventually you're going to run out of daylight, and then eventually you'll be on the east side of the sunrise. I mean, just fantastic. I love the, you know, like Andy said, a little clever line of Turnpike writing songs at the end. But that to me is like the least important part of the song. The first minute and a half of the song is just absolutely fantastic.
Because to your point, Kyle, for things to be so bleak when this song started, it's such a hopeful song.
Yeah,
and it's like the optimistic side, like of just trying to fight through the adversity, fight through the bad breaks you get, and you know things will turn around. It's a very hopeful song that I really appreciated that.
Yeah, man.
In this song,
yeah, like I said, eventually you just run out of things to be sad about because you run out of daylight. To me, is just the song. It's just absolutely. I mean, he is just phenomenal here.
So next up, we have the first collab, and this one's with War and Treaty. The main vocalist on this is Michael Trotter Jr. It's a husband-wife duo called Hey Driver. Andy, I know this was one of your favorites.
Yeah, this is my favorite. Where do I start? I like how, like where you said in this album, a lot of times Zach Bryan's vocals are flat. I like how in the harmonizing, he is very flat, and Michael Trotter is the opposite of that. And it still syncs so well because they're so different in the way they're singing, but it meshes so well. The writing it's a very heavy song. It's very sad song. I think the line that I've been feeling like there's no point at all kind of describes makes the whole rest of the song make sense. More so, he's just tired of life, and the way in the chorus, you know, where they still put sugar in iced tea, the women are fine and love is fair. You know, basically drop me off anywhere that's not the life that we're in. Take me anywhere else but here. You know, basically just done with living the life that in this current existence and just take me anywhere else.
Yeah, it's kind of like metaphorical and literal at the same time, because like wanting to get away from whatever the situation is, metaphorically speaking, but at the same time, he's physically trying to remove himself and put himself in a different situation to try to run from whatever it is he's running from. I'm with you on that. It works as the cognitive dissonance of Michael Trotter Jr.'s like top tier, fantastic vocal. And then Zach Bryan was very flat here, but it just shows you, like, you know, like I say, I don't have a problem with vocalists who are not the Chris Stapletons of the world, because a lot of the best songwriters are not the best singers. But it does kind of show you side by side of someone who is a great singer, like just a singer. And then you have the singer songwriter, Zach Bryan, the differences, but it worked in this song with the way they handled it. I was a big fan of the song too.
Zach Bryan he got overshadowed on this song, in my opinion.
He even said it at the beginning. He goes, Michael Trotter was like, "You ready?" And he goes, "Hey, Mike, it's your song."
Yeah, I mean, yeah. He he gets overshadowed and kind of gets quasi drowned out on the song. And I'm more interested in Michael Trotter. Is that who it is?
Michael Trotter Jr., yeah.
Yeah. I'm more interested in him than I am in, Zach on the song, unfortunately. It's just because he's so much better on this one particular song. So it's a harsh criticism, but I didn't really care for it because this, like the Lumineer song, I don't know.
Oh, I love the Lumineer song. We'll get to that one in a little bit.
God, I hate the Lumineers.
All right, so next up is the song Fear Fridays. What would y'all take on this one?
Skip.
It's not a skip. It's tough to follow up Hey Driver with this. But it's still good.
Yeah, I liked it, but I'm not going to wax poetic about this one compared to some of the others because this one wasn't one of my favorites. I don't skip it, but I'm with you. I liked Hey Driver a lot. This one wasn't one of my, it's towards the bottom of the record for me. So moving right along to Ticking, which I absolutely love this song.
Yep. Retweet.
The chorus to this is Nirvana, bro. Not the band, but just like Euphoria. Not the TV show, but you know what I'm saying.
Oh.
this
Tell us how you love Zendaya or whatever her name is.
Zendaya is pretty hot, bro. She's not her and Sydney Sweeney, but
yeah, that's right. Yep. Sydney Sweeney, yeah.
But the chorus to this is another example of him just writing a hooky, very melodic, chorus that I was here for this, and I love the difference in just how drastically different the verses in the chorus were. Almost kind of how it was on. You remember with "She's All Right" last record?
Yes,
how it was
yes,
very different.
Yes,
it worked on this too. I was a big fan.
Yeah, I retweet what you said. Yeah, I mean, fantastic. Andy,
this song is a good. I listened to Grady Smith's reaction to this. And something he said that I would agree. Zach Bryan and Logan said it at the beginning. Zach Bryan has this thing about living life to the fullest, and then also some of the the downsides of living that way. And this song is I think was a good example of that. Saying what I just said. There's a word for what I was trying, but I ain't coming up with it.
No, I'm with you on
YOLO,
that. I think this did kind of YOLO.
Yeah.
All right, so next one's the second collab he did with Sierra Farrell called Holy Roller. I think this is a pretty good love song, so to speak. I ain't never been a holy roller, but I found God in your eyes. But my favorite part, Andy and I talked about this the other day. My favorite part of this song is in the second verse. He goes, "Swigging on a handle of Tito's."
Yep.
I love that part.
There's memes about that.
That's very memeable, but that part's gonna hit hard in concert, dude. I
like his vocals on it.
I do too. I like his and Sierra Farrell's. They sing well together in this. I like her a lot. I haven't ever covered her stuff on this show, but she's a good artist that people should check out if you don't listen to her.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. The song has a very clever play on words on the word holy, which quite interesting. But it's good. I don't really have a world beater description of the song.
Yeah. Andy, it's kind of like you were talking about Grady Smith. Grady Smith's thing he said about this was, he goes, it's a love song where he's like, yeah, I'm out here living. He goes, and you know what, girl? He goes, your eyes remind me of nature. All right, so Jake's Piano, Long Island. This one's kind of like two songs in one. This was very interesting. This isn't one of my favorite ones on the record. I like the writing on both halves of this one song, two songs. I don't know exactly how it is. It was a very ambitious, creative endeavor, I would say. And in a lot of ways, Long Island is kind of like trying to relate to someone who is going through losing somebody. But solid song. I think he does it well. I think that Zach on the piano is something we haven't heard a lot of. And Jake's piano at the beginning was pretty good. So thoughts on this one?
I hate the piano.
Kyle, you said you loved this record, and I'm wondering if you liked any of them so far.
No. There's like 7 I really, really love. Yeah. But I hate piano in songs. I don't know. If you're gonna go piano, you need to go organ and just do classical. But I just don't like the piano. It's ugh.
I like the 2 songs together on one track. It's similar to, I think Green Day did it on like half of American Idiot, which is about to be classic rock, surprisingly. But people our age, it's, back to our childhood. But I like the piano in Jake's piano. I like Jake's piano. I like Long Island a lot more. The sound of Long Island, like when it switches, there's something about that sound that just strikes a chord in me. And how his vocals have been quiet throughout, like Jake's piano and up, and how he like gets to the growl type part in Long Island, it just stands out so much more.
Yeah,
it's just got that sound.
I like the second half better than the first 2. But now moving to track 10, probably my second or third favorite track on the album, El Dorado, or as he pronounces it, El Dorado. This is another example of Zach writing a hook and a really catchy melody and doing it well, which is different from the more kind of poetic style from earlier in his career. Kind of thinking about somebody that you used to know, whether it's a friend, a loved one, a love interest. The chorus of this is just straight money to me. Going back to El Dorado, hell if I know if you're still alive, there's a note in the glove box of your drive. This just I don't know what it was. This was an example of like when Zach Bryan hits that chorus, it's just like it hits all the right buttons for me that I was like, this is right up my alley.
To me, this is go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, I don't have a ton on it. The chorus does sound really good, and I should be there tomorrow.
It's a driving ass song.
Oh yeah, it's great to drive to. I agree.
Yeah, it's a driving ass song.
You need to make sure you play it while you're driving through El Dorado.
Oh yeah, you have to now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, driving ass song. I love the little guitar riffs. Gosh. This and another song, he just nails the guitar riffs. Even though he does mispronunciate. Pronunciate, yeah.
So
some people say it, like Colorado is a good example. I've heard Colorado, and Colorado. I've heard all 3.
Colorado is wrong. Yeah, Colorado's wrong. It's all right, Colorado.
So I'm with Colin. That's Colorado. The other one, people out there call it Colorado, though.
No, they're wrong. Yeah. They're wrong. They're incorrect.
That's how they say it.
The next one's the third collaboration he did with Casey Musgraves. He co-wrote this one with Casey, I believe, actually. It was called I Remember Everything. This is a fantastic, almost postmortem on a failed relationship. And this is almost in a lot of ways like Zach Bryan's All Too Well Taylor Swift moment, except for in his version, he's the bad guy, whereas Taylor, she wasn't, right? Zach,
no, she never is.
Yeah. But Zach's, he's the bad guy. There's just a lot that's similar in that song and this song. And I don't know, you guys probably aren't super familiar with it, but listen to it. And regardless of what the girls tell you, don't listen to Taylor's version. It's just very gratuitous. She added 7 extra minutes to a fucking song that didn't need it. But this is a fantastic collab he did with Casey Musgraves. I really kind of love her verses in it, kind of just talking about things he necessarily didn't do right. Really good effort in my book.
Yeah, I mean, Casey Musgraves has the voice of an angel. She. I don't want to overshadow him, but I'm sorry, Casey overshadows him. She's the highlights of the song, and you're right. It is a song about how what he did was everything that he did was wrong. But damn, Casey's good on this song. I mean, that's my main takeaway. God, she's good.
Yeah,
damn, she's good, man.
I don't know. I do think hers is probably better, but I think I don't know if it would have sounded as good without Zach's part before it. It really
yeah, he does the tempo down.
It set the tone for it story wise.
It meshes. The collab is just really good. The song's really good. This song is all together is just really good. Every aspect of it.
I would also say that Casey's range kind of adds to the feminization of the song, where Zach, we talk about how Zach is very flat, but most men, their range is very flat in how they talk, and Casey has a lot more emotion in her voice, which I think kind of adds to the emotion of the song. Zach being very monotoned and
yeah, I mean, this wasn't one of his where he it did, because this wasn't one of his songs where he emoted a lot on it. Go.
Yeah, but Zach's lack of emotiveness kind of, I think, plays into the masculine feminine dynamic of the song, which is fantastic.
All right, Andy, I know the next one was one that you said you liked a lot, was Tourniquet.
Yep, this top 3 for it. I like the sound of it, the way it starts. We'll stick with the sound, and then it ends up with the rock guitar, which was sick. Yep. And then I love the if you need a tourniquet or you want to turn and quit. I love that little turn of phrase, and I love where he put in the production. I heard it was from Streetcar Named Desire. I've never seen it. The little almost like airport noise or whatever it would be considered. After the delays on the planes leaving Eastern Montana. I really like that in the song, production wise.
Best part of the song is the guitar riffs. God, they're fantastic.
I mean, everything you guys just said, I'm 100% in agreement with.
They just rip, bro. God, they rip.
Yeah, this was a favorite of mine too. Next up, Kyle's favorite on the entire record, the Lumineers and Zach Bryan, Spotless.
Hated it.
I loved this song because this was one that this was just one that I thought kind of fit both their styles meshing together well vocally. The first time I listened to it, I really had to listen to who was singing at first, and then my ears caught up to who it was. But it's a song that it's very relatable and it's very human, because if you're looking for someone who's spotless, aka somebody who's perfect, then in a partner, then you are just looking for the wrong thing, because you're not going to find it. You're always going to be disappointed. Because I'm not spotless and neither is you. So that's I really like this one a lot.
I'm sorry. The Lumineers are poisoned because my sister and her boyfriend love them, and they play it all the goddamn time, and I'm just like, ugh. I hate it. Yeah. Unfortunately, you can't tell who's singing for most of the song. I hated it.
All right. Next up, we had Tradesman. This was one where I thought was very, very well done, because it's that thing where he's a musician. He has a very different, unique life, but it's that idea that you're very blessed, and you're not having to work with your hands, but there's this carnal side of you that wants to work with your hands. And the line about the only callus is on his mind, or on his brain, fantastic. It's just that kind of idea that if you're of the different type of lifestyle of being kind of famous and wealthy, sometimes you just want to have that 9 to 5 release. You know what I mean?
Boy, the verse of "The Rich Boys Can't Fake It," where he knows a skill that you can't just fake it till you make it. I love this song. As somebody
I like it too.
Yeah, I have a trade skill. God, love it, man.
And two, like I think where he said, "What was the line?" There was, "I didn't take no easy way out." Like where everybody, all the other people were going to be saying he's like, "This ain't as easy as it looks either." He was like, we would both rather trade positions, and it's type deal.
And he's also speaking to like the emotional and mental aspect of it too. That it's not as easy. People think that it's glamorous and glorious, but it takes its toll on you mentally with your mental health. And that sometimes he thinks it would just be better just to work a regular job with his hands and be a normal dude.
Yeah. This podcast, me and Andy are on the opposite side of you, Logan. And there are days that it's less, mentally demanding, but it's more physically demanding. And, I love the fact that he pays homage to that. Love this song.
Next to last track is Smaller Acts. I think it's a very well written song with a really cool story, and I love the shout out to the Mercury Lounge. I've been there. Hate the production.
Yep, hate it.
I don't hate it.
Hate it. It's
Kyle, you and I could record this on our iPhone notes, and it's sound the same.
Yeah, it's got some auto tune, I'm assuming, and it doesn't fit his bill. It's just his whole thing is very stripped back, independent music, and then it sounds very.
He is known for iPhone videos. It's the same recording.
But even they sounded more clear than this.
Yeah, it sounds heavily produced.
This sounds like you're going for that sound rather than it having that sound, and the end result was a muddled mess that you can't understand. That was my issue with it, because if I want to listen to Zach Bryan in a lo-fi sound, he's got 3 records I can go back and listen to. So, this one just didn't work the way he probably intended it to. But
you can hear it in the guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the album closer, love this song, Oklahoman Sun. Like just the chorus in this about no matter what you do, no matter where you go, no matter how successful you are, you can't hide where you're from and who you are. You can go and sell your guns, as it says, but you're always going to be Oklahoman, son. This song struck a chord with me. I loved this one.
Yeah. You are who you are.
You said it. So. It's not way up there on the list, but for me, yeah, you said it.
Yeah. Well, that's Zach Bryan's self-titled record. Nothing short of very, 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 very fantastic here about like we've expected from him over the last few years. Real quick to close out the show. 3 favorite songs, starting at 3, going to 1. Kyle, you kick it off.
Oh, we got Tradesman, Tickling, and East Side of Sorrow.
Trucker Andy?
You mean ticking?
Ticking. What is it? Tickling?
Yeah, you said tickling.
Oh, shit. Yeah, sorry. Ticking. Yeah.
I remember everything. Tourniquet. Hey, Driver.
For me, I'd probably say Ticking, El Dorado, and East Side of Sorrow.
East Side of Sorrow. Fantastic. Fan-fucking-tastic. All right. So, 16. I think we're still in good shape to break my over-under, because apparently he has more songs he hasn't released.
But then again, it'll be a separate project, so
I said
we all missed on this.
No, I said 27 and a half for the year, right?
Well, you did say for the year. You did say that's fair. You did say for the year.
That was the over-under in December, so
yeah.
I think I took the under.
All right, you chose that. Yeah, I think we're in good shape.
Yeah. Probably
I mean,
so.
we need-
You two
all we
are. I
need-
took the over.
We need, what, 9.5? No, 10.5. We need 10.5
Yeah.
to break
But-
over.
Well, let
So-
us know what you thought about both the Turnpike album and the Zach Bryan album. Probably one of the most memorable release days that we've had in a long, long time. I've been going back and forth between these records so much. I really need to get to some of the other stuff that was released that day. But in the description of this podcast, there's a link that says click here to leave us a voicemail. We want to hear from you. Got any questions, any comments about these projects, or just anything in general, hit us there. Be sure to click subscribe, share it with your friends, and give us 5 stars and a great review. For this episode of Country and Cold Cans, I am Logan, sitting here with Trucker Andy and Kyle.
Take
See you
care,
next
guys.
time.